You spent 40 years running toward a finish line, only to realize that the finish line is a cliff, and the view from the top is a suffocating void. The reason you are struggling with the silence of retirement is not because you are tired, but because you have finally stopped moving fast enough to outrun yourself. We are conditioned to believe that freedom is the absence of obligation, but for the unprepared mind, total freedom is a form of psychological solitary confinement. You have reached the summit of your career, only to find that the mountain was hollow. This is the great paradox of the modern elder. You worked your entire life to buy a version of peace that you now lack the internal tools to inhabit. Peace is not the absence of the storm, it is the realization that you are the ocean. But right now, you feel less like the ocean and more like a ship that has been stripped of its engine and left to drift in a stagnant sea. The noise of the office, the pressure of deadlines, and the weight of your professional title were not just burdens, they were the scaffolding that held your identity together. Now that the scaffolding is gone, you are staring at the raw materials of your soul, and you are terrified to realize you don't recognize the person standing there. This is not a crisis of age, it is a crisis of architecture. You have spent decades building a world for others to live in, your employers, your family, your community, and you have neglected to build a sanctuary within yourself that can withstand the weight of a Tuesday afternoon with nothing to do. Stoicism teaches us that the greatest empire is the one we govern within. Yet, most people enter retirement as refugees from their own lives, seeking asylum in hobbies that feel hollow and vacations that offer no rest. You are not bored. Boredom is a shallow word used by those who lack the courage to look at the clock. What you are experiencing is the entropy of the idle mind. Without a central aim, the human psyche does not relax, it decomposes. It begins to eat itself, turning small health concerns into existential threats and minor inconveniences into tragedies. You have more time than you ever dreamed of, yet you feel more rushed than ever because you can hear the ticking of the clock in a way you never could when you were busy. Seneca once wrote that no man is more unhappy than he who faces no adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. You thought retirement was the reward for your service, but philosophy suggests it is the final, most grueling examination. It is the test of whether you can exist without an audience. In the professional world, you had a script. You had a uniform. You had a hierarchy that told you exactly where you stood. In the void of post-career life, there are no directors and no applause. There is only the uncarved block of the day and the dull chisel of your own will. If you find the silence deafening, it is because your internal dialogue has been a monologue about external things for so long that you have forgotten how to listen to the silence. The modern world views retirement as a decline, a slow fade into the sunset of consumption and golf courses. This is a lie designed to keep you spiritually sedated. In reality, this period of your life is the only time you have ever been truly dangerous. You have the wisdom of decades, the resources of a lifetime, and the most lethal weapon in existence, time. But a weapon in the hands of someone who doesn't know they are at war is a liability. You are at war with the creeping rot of stagnation. You are at war with the societal expectation that you should now simply wait to die while staying comfortably out of the way. The Zen masters speak of the beginner's mind, but for the retiree, the challenge is the master's void. You must learn to be a nobody after being a somebody. This is the ultimate ego death. If your self-worth was tied to the size of your paycheck or the number of people who reported to you, then retirement is a funeral you are attending while still breathing. You must burn that old identity to the ground to see what is fireproof. What remains after the title is stripped away? What is left when the calendar is blank? If the answer is nothing, then you have finally found the starting point of your true education. We seek control to feel safe, yet Stoicism teaches that the more we try to control the external, the more of a prisoner we become to our own anxiety. You try to fill your days with busy work to mimic the feeling of productivity, but your soul knows the difference between movement and progress. You are running on a treadmill in a dark room, wondering why the scenery hasn't changed. The discomfort you feel when the house is quiet is not a sign that something is wrong, it is a signal that your internal locus of control has been externalized for too long. You are waiting for the world to give you a reason to get out of bed, forgetting that you are the one who creates the sun. Consider the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. This includes the love of the void. Most people spend their working lives dreaming of this moment, only to spend their retirement wishing they were back in the harness. They are in love with the idea of rest but terrified of the reality of stillness. This is because stillness is a mirror. When you stop moving, you have to look at what you've become. If you don't like what you see, no amount of travel or luxury will fix it. You cannot travel far enough to get away from a mind that is at war with itself. The strategic mistake is viewing your free time as a resource to be spent. Time is not currency, it is the fabric of your existence. When you say you are killing time, you are committing a slow, incremental suicide. The goal of this stage of life is not to find things to do to pass the hours, it is to cultivate a state of being where the hours do not need to be passed. This requires a radical shift from the economic man to the philosophical man. The economic man asks, what is the utility of this hour? The philosophical man asks, what is the quality of this presence? You are currently suffering from choice paralysis on a grand scale. When you had no time, every minute was precious. Now that you have an ocean of it, you treat it like salt water, unfit to drink. You wake up and the horizon is so wide that you don't know which way to steer, so you drop anchor and stay exactly where you are, rotting in the harbor. But remember, a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. You were not built to be a monument to your past achievements. You were built to be a vessel for ongoing discovery. The gray hair and the slowed pace are not signs of obsolescence, they are the patina of a blade that has been tempered in fire and is now ready for a different kind of cut. The pressure you feel to enjoy your retirement is its own form of tyranny. It is the final demand of a consumerist society. We have given you your freedom, now show us how happy you are. This leads to a performative leisure that is more exhausting than work. You feel guilty for not being blissful. You feel like a failure because you are restless. But restlessness is the engine of the spirit. It is the part of you that refuses to be satisfied with a comfortable cage. It is the part of you that knows that enough is a moving target. Let go of the need to be productive in the way the market defines it. The market is done with you, and that is its greatest gift. You are now outside the reach of the quarterly report. You are no longer a cog in a machine that doesn't care about your name. You are, for the first time in your adult life, a free agent in the universe. But freedom without discipline is just a slow descent into chaos. To survive the void, you must build a new structure, not one made of steel and glass and office politics, but one made of rituals, curiosity, and radical acceptance.